Hello everyone and welcome back to a new video. Today I'm bringing you a sketchbook with me video, a art with me video you could say. Just trying to mix up some of the content around here on my YouTube channel because obviously I vlog quite a bit now that the vlogs are back, but I want to bring you guys a little bit of art content too. I really didn't get a chance to do that over the last year or so, or really ever since I had Roman. It's been a constant struggle of figuring out how to, continuously create content in a number of different platforms. But I really want to make an effort in this upcoming year of kind of just making different kinds of videos here on my YouTube channel, beyond Patreon. And my patrons have seen a lot of this kind of stuff. I post a lot more kind of tutorial heavy process kind of videos more so over there, but I think every now and then I definitely can bring kind of these sketchbook with me videos here to YouTube where I'm just kind of working on something, and especially a situation like this where what I'm doing is filling in a sketch. And I kind of want to talk to you about this a little bit because there is kind of a bit of a, not really a backstory, but a bit of why I do this kind of work in my sketchbook per se. So I'll first start off by saying I am working in the Strathmore mixed media softcover sketchbooks. These have definitely become a favorite of mine. They're just really great to work in with watercolor and colored pencil and ink, and they lay nice and flat, which is always super important to me when working in a sketchbook. I'm about halfway done on this one actually, so I'm making some pretty good headway on this one here. But something that I always like to do in my sketchbooks, and why I thought that this would make kind of for a good video, is that I always have things kind of sketched out. I always have different pages and spreads and stuff in various states of completion. Now, obviously, if you have followed me for a long time, let me also add the fine print here that this is my sketchbook. This is not my art journal. Very different modes of art making. That could probably be its own video, but my art journaling is really more serious kind of mixed media work. My sketchbook is where I really just kind of play. I mix with materials, I experiment with materials, I just sketch, I draw, I doodle. It's my kind of play zone, not really like intense, meaningful art making, so to speak. So I'm in my sketchbook here, and I always have things in different states of completion. So having kind of sketches like this where they're just kind of random things that I'm practicing or that I'm into. I've been into kind of referencing old photos from the 1900s, kind of Gibson girl vibes, because the photographs are really great to reference. They have really interesting facial features. And of course, I always love the hair, right? I'm always super into detailing hair, although I'm realizing I don't have that much hair happening in this particular one, but the other image of the girl, you'll see I have some more hair happening there, but their hair is always up in these like really cool like loose buns and kind of have lots of poofs happening, and there's a lot of really interesting line work that you can kind of play with. So I've found myself really drawn to those kind of reference images a lot lately, and just drawing from those kind of in my sketchbook. So that's where the imagery is coming from on this. But I always love having just pages where I have just sketches, and I will intentionally kind of stop working on them once I have something sketched out. So even if I have like a block of time where I could theoretically sit down, sketch something out, and then fully ink it, watercolor it, what have you, I will force myself to stop and either start sketching other things, or I'll just switch and work on something else. And the reason I do this is that because there are some days where you sit down, and I get this question a lot too, so I feel like I'm answering a good question here too. There are some days where you go to sit down and you want to make art, and you're like, what do I work on, right? Or what is it that I want to do? I know I want to make art, but I don't know what it is that I want to do. And that's where these sketches come into play, certainly for me, in kind of two different ways. One, it's really good for those days where you're like, I want to make art, but I don't know what I want to do. Or maybe you're in a mood where you don't want to have a serious art making day. I don't want to art journal today. I just want to play with some watercolor and mess around in my sketchbook. These are the great kind of pages or sketches to come back to and kind of be like, oh yeah, let me work on this. It kind of gives you that task, right? So it's really good for, I want to make something, but I don't know what I want to do. It's also really great for just warming up. And I think that is what I used these particular sketches on. And you'll see I toggle between two different things, these kind of Gibson girls and then a crazy looking nutcracker guy. That is actually from a batch of sketches from when I asked you guys on Instagram for drawing suggestions. He kind of came out of that, and he was the first thing that I sketched out of that batch of of suggestions. So he's definitely like the roughest one from that batch of drawings there. But anyways, I was kind of filling him in while doing these gals at the same time. But in this particular instance, this was totally like a warm up for me. I was gearing up to start to art journal after this. I've been working on some larger kind of canvas pieces. I might have even been dabbling on a couple of tarot cards after working on this. But having sketches like this for me are also really great warm ups because I just, with anything, with drawing and painting and even just creativity in general, sometimes you need a hot minute to just get warmed up, whether it's just getting your hand kind of going, or maybe if it's just switching into that mindset, right? Because so much of it is that mood, right? Am I in the mood to make art today? Am I in the mood to like sit down and really concentrate on something? And these sketches are so helpful for me in just staying loose and just kind of warming up. And here's that nutcracker again. He really is pretty haggard. But I think, again, he was just because he was from the first drawing from that big batch of suggestions that I had posted on Instagram, which was so fun, by the way. I mean, like, who knew posting, tell me what to draw on Instagram would yield such interesting sort of things, and certainly imagery that I would have never have thought to draw otherwise. I think you can see some of that in a previous vlog of mine. I think I drew, I did some like penguin wizards. Like, I don't think I had ever drawn a penguin prior to that. So it was kind of an interesting way to like flex my drawing skills a little bit and reference and draw things that I have never drawn like ever. So that was a really fun experiment. But I did leave a lot of those sketches in just sort of sketch form as a warm-up place for me to come back and kind of warm up like this. Like here, I'm just kind of experimenting with some different watercolors. And the watercolor that I'm using, by the way, you'll see kind of two different pans. One is oh gosh, I've already forgotten what it is. It's a pearlescent, is it the Rembrandt? I think it's Rembrandt. I'm blanking. It's a pearlescent watercolor. Maybe it's best that I am spacing out and not remember. Oh, it's a Paul Rubens. It's the Paul Rubens pearlescent watercolor. But maybe it's good that I'm not remembering it at this current moment because I actually would not recommend it. There is a full review of that on my Patreon if you want to see more. But spoiler, I would not recommend it. But I am trying my best to continue to use it and try it in other stuff before just totally throwing it to the wayside. So this is me trying to use that, in these little warm-up pages here and there. But so that's one of the watercolors that I'm using. The other one that I'm using is a larger pan of samples that one of my patrons had sent me a long time ago, and I've been using the heck out of it. Most of it is Daniel Smith watercolor, but at some point I will need to actually build my own custom watercolor set with a lot of those colors because, oh my gosh, that patron, and I mean, thank you again to who sent that to me. I use it constantly. It's just such a great range of like high quality color. So a lot of those kind of colors that you were seeing me use earlier, that's what is being used there, is from that sample palette. Also here I'm showing my detail brush. I've been getting a lot of questions about this detail brush, and this has been my hot one that I've been using a lot for the inking line work. And I rotate between a couple of different fine line brushes for detail work like this, but this has been my go-to one, and it's a Princeton round size 2, and I think it's a sable brush. I think this was something that I got out of an Art Snacks box, but actually I have it in my Amazon favorites. So just go over to my Amazon storefront, which is an affiliate link. That link is in the description box below. You can shop that exact brush there. And the ink, I rotate through a couple of different inks. I can't remember off the top of my head which one that specific one is, but just black acrylic ink there. And I'm coming in and kind of doing this detail work, outlining all these ladies and getting all the detail in. And this is where, again, utilizing it as a warm-up. This line work, this kind of detail work that I do using a paintbrush, it requires a very warmed up hand. Anytime I'm working on an illustration that I care a lot about, or if I'm art journaling and I have an illustration component that requires me doing this kind of detail work, I always have to do some sort of warm up. And that is where I really rely on these sketches in my sketchbook to kind of get my hand warmed up and get a feel for things. And so much of it is that balance of control of both of your hand, but also that transition of getting comfortable into the brush again and getting that right balance of ink to brush ratio, to kind of get settled into it. So yeah, these sketches are just like so critical for me in getting myself warmed up. So this is also a good time to note, by the way, which I haven't done yet, that I am using my brand new camera for all this artwork overhead. And I'm still working out the kinks here and there. And I have, since, videos after this, I have defaulted back to my old camera here and there. Simply from an audio perspective, I'm still trying to figure out like the white balance settings and getting my audio worked out, because I do need to get an external mic on this. But anywho, that's why you're getting voiceover bun today. Also, sometimes I think filming videos and then just coming in with a voiceover on top can be a little bit easier, because as you've seen with a previous Ink With Me video, it is really challenging to talk while I'm attempting to ink something, much like what I'm doing here. So the voiceover is kind of critical. So expect in future kind of sketchbook with me videos like this, I will probably have some sort of voiceover on it, just because it's so much easier than trying to talk like IRL as I do it. It's damn near impossible. But anyways, I'm using a new camera here. So forgive, some technical things here of the focusing and lighting and here and there. I'm still working out the kinks on this, and it's going to take a bit. It's a big change going from, a camera that I've been using for several years to now upgrading to something different. The quality is great, though. I will say that now that I'm looking at the footage and going back to things. I did have to color correct stuff, but I do that with all my footage anyways. But overall, the quality of the footage is really great. But the highlight on this new camera, and I'm talking about the Sony ZV-1. I will also put this in my Amazon storefront if you want to go look at that, because you guys are constantly asking me what my tech equipment is. The real highlight on this camera, though, is that like whip flash autofocus. Holy moly. This thing has the fastest autofocus of anything I have ever seen. It is insane. Like, I was doing a test shot. I was doing test footage using the camera, right? And I was doing stuff with my dice, because I am trying to film a dice haul video and then a big dice tour video, which I love that you guys are into seeing dice videos. That makes me so happy, because I have a serious addiction to collecting D&D dice. It's like a real problem. But anywho, I was practicing filming dice. I didn't end up using the actual footage because the audio was weird, but the focus on this camera is crazy. And the dice was like such a perfect thing to practice on too, because it's small, right? It's just like something that I'm pinching between my fingers and, moving away and close to the lens, and the focus on it was just like mind-blowing. It's just absolutely amazing. Anywho, I'm continuing on here. I have done a lot of the black ink work that I've already wanted to do with the detailing and the features. I actually really like how the hat kind of turned out, the top of the hat, kind of that like feathered look. I don't do feathers very often like that, so it was kind of interesting to tackle that and create that texture. And I think sort of leaving it unfinished a little bit like that actually helps it create that textured look. So that was a fun little experiment, and something I'll definitely keep in mind, I think, in the future. But all I'm really doing at this point now is just kind of jazzing up my background, because you know me, more is more. I can't leave something with just blank space. So just leaving it with a gray background, even in my sketchbook, feels incredibly unfinished to me. So I have to go in and go overboard and add as much as humanly possible. Of course, I'm adding in some details with my favorite red and blue colored pencil, which I love so much. I am slowly burning through like a box of these, just sharpening them down to nothing. But they're one of my favorite things to draw with. And I think even these ladies originally were drawn. Yeah, most of this was drawn with the red side of that colored pencil. I'm a big fan of drawing with colored pencils, just because you're kind of forced to stick with what you've put down. Sometimes sketching with a pencil can be your enemy more than your friend. But this is also something that I'm really into here, is creating these like blobs and then putting tiny white polka dots on top of it. It's kind of just like a really great space filler. Like, it feels busy, but not, it feels busy and complete, but not with a whole lot of effort, which I like. And I've also been doing this a lot in my planner journal. I think that's where it kind of originated, was I was using it as a space filler for things in my planner and my to-do lists. And so it's now crossed over into my sketchbook and my art journal stuff. But it's been fun kind of just even working in these sketches in my sketchbook. I feel like it's helping me get into a more creative zone for things. And it's got me motivated to now work on sort of these other larger creative projects, the stuff that I'm working on Canvas, trying to switch gears and focus as much as I can on this tarot deck project, which is a huge goal for me for 2021. And I think that's something that I've just been thinking about a lot lately is like, okay, what am I concentrating on for 2021? And you're going to see, I don't know if it will come out before or after this. You'll see what I'm using in 2021 video at some point. I did film that for YouTube, so that's either already out or it's coming soon. I don't know. But, you know, I think the main theme with that video and just even my own brainstorming on the side is make more art. My big thing for this upcoming year is just to concentrate on making more art. I feel like 2020 was just like survival mode. And I had survival mode even just at the start of 2020, pandemic aside, because, you know, I still had, you know, a newborn at that point. I had an infant. And I just was trying to balance, you know, working and being a mom and trying to figure all that out. And it's kind of why I've been so MIA on YouTube and even on Patreon. It's taken me a solid year to really figure out how to create content, quality content, a lot of content, different types of content. So I feel like 2020 was just the year of like surviving, trying to figure things out, figuring out what that balance is. And I feel like I've gotten it not down, but I'm managing it a lot better. I'm able to kind of make videos and make art and find these times and manage my time a lot better. You know, the constant balance of mom life and work life, it's an everyday thing, but I feel like I'm getting a little bit better out of it. I feel like I'm getting better at it, and it's just taken time. That's just the big thing. It's just allowing myself that time to figure it out, right? But anyways, that was a side track there, but I really want to concentrate on just making more art. You know, I look back at some of my older vlogs and things, and I see that passion that I have, and I still have it, but it's just a dim light right now. And it's been dim because I've just had so many other things going on and piled on top of it. And now I really just want to bring that to the forefront. Like, I'm ready to just like, let's make that like a flickering bulb to a full-blown like tiki torch. You know what I mean? Like, let's just light it up. And I just want to really concentrate on making art and getting lost and falling in that rabbit hole of creativity again. And it's there. It's in there. And it's just about me kind of drawing it out. And I feel like that's kind of what I'm starting to do now at the start of the new year here. So it's, you know, sketchbook pages like this that's helping me kind of lure it out, you know, to slowly drag it out. So even just simple things like this that have no meaning, that's just me putting tiny dots on a bunch of watercolor blobs in the background of some random Gibson girl I've drawn on my sketchbook page, that is feeding and fueling into the bigger picture of ultimately making more art. So anywho, it's got really deep somehow, and I don't know how that happened, but here is the final pages of these Gibson girls and then that wonky little nutcracker guy. But I hope you guys enjoyed this kind of sketchbook with me, art with me video. More to come in the future, and of course, many more over on Patreon. I've been doing these videos for a while on Patreon. So if you want more creative content, you can join me over there. Otherwise, I'll see you all in the next one. Bye!